Genesis 1, 3 through 5, creation of the light. And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning one day. Overview. Let there be light was spoken ineffably. The light that God created is the bodily light, and God saw that the light was good signifies that God approved his work, not that he found before him a good that he had not known. Augustine. God is the author of light. Ambrose. Light, in its primordial form, did not come from the sun, which had not yet been created. Ephraim. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, means that God made a distinction between light and darkness. Basil, Ephraim, Augustine. The first day and night were not ruled yet by solar motion. Basil. The concept of a day is not to be allegorized. Ephraim. The invisible spiritual world is created before the physical world. Ambrose, Ephraim. Creation out of nothing is distinguished from that which is created out of what existed before. Ephraim. 1:3 Let there be light. The author of light. Ambrose. God is the author of light, and the place and cause of darkness is the world. But the good author uttered the word light, so that he might reveal the world by infusing brightness therein, and thus make its aspect beautiful. Suddenly then the air became bright, and darkness shrank in terror from the brilliance of the novel brightness. Ineffable command. Augustine. We ought to understand that God did not say, Let there be light, by a sound brought forth from the lungs or by the tongue and teeth. Such thoughts are those of persons physically preoccupied. To be wise in accord with the flesh is death. Let there be light was spoken ineffably. The light born from God, distinguished from the light made by God. Augustine. As the words themselves make sufficiently clear, we are told that this light was made. The light born from God is one thing, the light that God made is another. The light born from God is the very wisdom of God, but the light made by God is something beautiful, whether corporeal or incorporeal. The light did not come from the sun. Ephraim the Syrian. The light was released so that it might spread over everything without being fastened down. It dispersed the darkness that was over everything, although it did not move. It was only when the light went away and when it came that it moved. For when the light went away, the rule was given to the night, and at the light's coming there would be an end to the night's rule. After the brightness of the light rendered its service for 3 days, the sun was in the firmament in order to ripen whatever had sprouted under that first light. 1:4 The light was good. Separation of light from darkness. Basil the Great. Evening, then, is a common boundary line of day and night, and similarly morning is the part of night bordering on day. In order, therefore, to give the prerogative of prior generation to the day, Moses mentioned first the limit of the day, and then that of the night, as night followed the day. The condition in the world before the creation of light was not night, but darkness. That which was opposed to the day was named night. God approves his work. Augustine. We should understand that this sentence does not signify joy as if over an unexpected good, but an approval of the work. For what is said more fittingly of God, in so far as it can be humanly said, than when Scripture puts it this way, He spoke, and it was made, it pleased him. Thus we understand in He spoke his sovereignty, and it was made, his power, and in it pleased him his goodness. These ineffable things had to be said in this way by a man to men, so that they might profit all. Augustine. God saw that the light was good, and these words do not mean that God found before him a good that he had not known, but that he was pleased by one that was finished. The original goodness, the final glory of goodness. Ambrose. God, as judge of the whole work, foreseeing what is going to happen as something completed, commends the part of his work which is still in its initial stages, being already cognizant of its termination. 1:5a Day and night. Distinction between light and darkness. Augustine. And God divided the light and the darkness, and God called the light day, and called the darkness night. It did not say here God made the darkness, because darkness is merely the absence of light. Yet God made a division between light and darkness. So too we make a sound by crying out, and we make a silence by not making a sound, because silence is the cessation of sound. Still, in some sense, we distinguish between sound and silence, and call the one sound and the other silence. He called the light day, and he called the darkness night, was said in the sense that he made them to be called, because he separated and ordered all things so that they could be distinguished and receive names. 1.5b, the first day, not ruled by solar motion, Basil the Great. Henceforth, after the creation of the sun, it is day when the air is illuminated by the sun shining on the hemisphere above the earth, and night is the darkness of the earth when the sun is hidden. Yet it was not at that time according to solar motion, but it was when that first created light was diffused and again drawn in according to the measure ordained by God. That day came, and night succeeded. Distinguishing creation out of nothing from all else created out of what existed before, Ephraim the Syrian. Heaven, earth, fire, wind, and water were created from nothing, as Scripture bears witness. Whereas the light, which came to be on the first day, along with the rest of the things that came to be afterward, came to be from something. Therefore, those five created things were created from nothing, and everything else was made from those five things that came to be from nothing. The 6 days are reliably descriptive, Ephraim the Syrian. So let no one think that there is anything allegorical in the work of the 6 days. No one can rightly say that the things pertaining to these days were symbolic, nor can one say that they were meaningless names, or that other things were symbolized for us by their names. Rather, let us know in just what manner heaven and earth were created in the beginning. They were truly heaven and earth. There was no other thing signified by the names heaven and earth. The rest of the works and things made that followed were not meaningless significations either, for the substances of their natures correspond to what their names signify. The creation of spiritual beings, Basil the Great. In fact, there did exist something, as it seems, even before this world, which our mind can attain by contemplation, but which has been left uninvestigated, because it is not adapted to those who are beginners, and as yet infants in understanding. This was a certain condition older than the birth of the world, and proper to the supramundane powers, one beyond time, everlasting, without beginning or end. In it, the creator and producer of all things perfected the works of his art, a spiritual light befitting the blessedness of those who love the Lord, rational and invisible natures, and the whole orderly arrangement of spiritual creatures which surpass our understanding, and of which it is impossible even to discover the names. These fill completely the essence of the invisible world. The invisible world created, Ambrose, the angels, dominions, and powers, although they began to exist at some time, were already in existence when the visible world was created.